on our family farm northeast of St. Thomas, Ontario. We were the original people to settle this land in 1832. In earlier times, it was very common for the man of the house to be harder or seem harder, less talking out ideas of emotions. I think that's very common in all of the farm world. I think it's common probably in everybody's world. And I think today it's better to be more open. I've known about the Legacy interview offerings for quite some time. Got thinking about it more deeply, and then Corrine and I went down to St. Louis and we did it on site, which was really cool.
So this weekend, you've come to stay with us to film us seeing the final production of our Legacy interview.
We're going to sit down as a family unit and we're going to watch this production.
We haven't seen it yet, so the children are watching it with us so we can get their reactions. It'll be interesting just to see how it all goes down.
It's a beautiful fall weekend, and yeah, everybody's home, so we're going to enjoy the time together.
I'm really curious to see my children's reaction to this, and I hope they enjoy it.
How did the two of you meet?
Well, the first time I met Jay was at a party at a friend's place. But then our best friends married each other. And so we were kind of getting together with their wedding plans and everything. And then he got the nerve to ask me to go out.
I thought they were just making a trip down to St. Louis because we had some other plans that kind of fell through in the summer. I didn't find out until after they got back. They were going down to do an interview about their legacy.
I thought that it was more of like a friend trip. I wasn't really sure exactly what it entailed.
I don't know if my dad's like super good at explaining things sometimes. Like we were both kind of
a little confused, I think, maybe a little nervous.
1 or 2 weeks later, he had like a clip that he showed us. He's like, oh yeah, this is what we did. And I was watching it and I was like, whoa, okay, this is like a new side of Jay that's coming out.
Gathering together with the family to watch it was really nice. It was sweet. It was funny. For my dad, it was really impactful. I can see like how much excitement it brought him and how much joy it brought him to share the things that he has a hard time talking about with us. He's not, at least in the past, wasn't a very emotional person. So it's kind of nice to see him be able to talk more openly.
For me, I think I saw Jay in a new perspective, to see him reflect on who he was growing up, to be in that room with him as that's happening, like kind of like heartwarming that he does have that emotional side, especially like looking forward to like when we eventually have a family. Like I want that for our children too.
Sharing the experience with my brother is great. I think it was kind of funny. We never really hear our parents like together sharing stories about us, so it's kind of funny to hear both perspectives.
I thought it was cool to like reflect on some of like the childhood memories like they brought up, like, you know, me climbing trees or Carrie doing a awkward dance as a child, you know, like things like that. Like I knew these things happened, but like just hearing them again, because it's been so long for some of these things, you know. One part that really stuck with me out of that interview was my dad talking about our childhoods and like, you know, worked a lot, and they kind of felt like, you know, they didn't stop to smell the roses.
There was definitely some like bittersweet moments. Yeah, like hearing my dad, hearing that he like regretted not being around when we were younger is not something I've ever heard.
Listening to my dad talk about, you know, working too much or missing out on certain things, you know, like it means a lot to me.
It just kind of helps, I think, put some of the old arguments and stuff to bed a bit. It's kind of nice to hear. I think it's good for our relationship to have that openness.
The last few years, like he's retired now, and seeing him, you know, enjoy life more means a lot.
When Carrie and Neil were watching together, like obviously they were also able to talk about it afterwards, and I think that's good. Looking back on it and being able to kind of debrief together, and then, you know, it creates more conversation within the family.
I definitely view my mom as a storyteller. She always has been kind of like the historian of the family.
Neil's mom is so sweet and heartwarming, and she's so humble, and she's always so considerate of other people.
It's like she's so like naturally funny and like warm.
She doesn't really like being photographed or filmed, but I don't know, I think she's a really interesting person, and she has a cool story to share, and I liked hearing it. Because like when you're growing up, you know, you hear little snippets here and there, like how they met, but you don't get like the whole story. like driving around a truck in London with the music too loud, or, you know, just funny things like that. You know, it's just cool to like see their love for each other and how much they care about each other.
I was surprised at the depth that the questions went into, and to see some of those more like very authentic answers. It was honestly a lot more meaningful than I guess I had originally anticipated.
It's cool to capture all that knowledge because, you know, in the future, your children might want to know where they come from.
The stories that Corinne and Jay talked about, it would be neat to like look back on that to say like, oh yeah, like my great grandfather had those same similarities. And
Yeah.
I think in a day-to-day conversation, you won't be provoked to answer questions like that.
I feel having the legacy interview, you know, the questions asked really helps them open up. I think it's worthwhile.
Every family has worthy stories that need to be told. A lot of people don't think they're worthy, but they all are. It's kind of a relief, a weight somewhat lifted, being free to discuss good things, difficult things. In my case, it changed my openness ability. It's kind of teaching an old dog new tricks. And I think it's a great gift to anybody coming behind you to be clear and honest and say whatever needs to be said.